It's Jake with Our Value Homes. We build custom net zero energy homes in West Michigan, primarily using insulating concrete forms, one of our methods of choice. And today we're going to do a walkthrough inspection of the bracing prior to pour, just to make sure it's ready to go. So here is the front, and one of the unique things about this project is that we have some 8-inch core wall and some 6-inch core. This is Nudura, and they do not make a corner block that transitions from 6 to 8. So right now we're looking at the 8-inch. Around this corner is the 6-inch, and so the corners had to be cut apart. Really, we didn't use a corner at all. We just used standard block and cut them apart. And so this bracing is what will hold it together on the outside. We're screwed back into each tie here, going all the way back about 4 or 5 feet, and then a couple of screws in here. Should be the same on this side, and that is what you want to see all the way up on the outside of one of those transition corners. Next we get to a window buck, and here we're using pre-buck, and we use these Burmon buck braces. And when since we have the 8-inch core, it's 13 1/4 wide. These are set up for 11 1/4, and so they're bent a little bit. Not a big deal. And these are Burmon buck braces, really handy little tool. But we set these all up for a 6-inch core wall, and this is 8-inch core, so they're not tight. You can see we fit right back here. So we just need to get a screw in there, screw in here. I'd love to get 2 whenever they're possible. I've asked them to make them a little bit longer so that we can always hit 2 ties. For those who are uninitiated, where you have this diamond pattern here, that's where there is a stud or a tie under the surface of the foam. So we're getting back into there. So that's good. We've got vertical bracing in the windows roughly every 3 feet. So that's looking good. More buck braces there. Here we have a short-ish corner. It's exactly 3 feet. And that meant that we had to cut on this first line here past, and then we stagger that cut back and forth just to get a little bit of interlock. So there's a little bit of interlock there. Then we have to plywood up that. We want to see 2 screws per course in. So that is done all the way up. We'll cover what these are in another location. Across this front door here, again, following that vertical seam all the way up with plywood. And then these are for short corners. The short leg of a 90-degree corner. We've had it early on where mud came a little too wet, and during the pour and vibration, those short corners separated. So to head that off, we plywood all of our short corners now to the next longest block. This board going across here is painted orange because I nailed my head on it right as soon as I put it up, but that's just intended to keep the dimensions correct when this gets filled with concrete. Of course, at the top of the wall, we put our whaler board on in order to keep those dimensions correct, and we screw the corners together. More squares of plywood for the short edge of the corner. Now here's where we do another transition from 8-inch core to 6-inch core wall. Being an inside corner does not need any special bracing since we have a stud or tie right there on both of them. So that worked out good. Here's a door. Again, one of the beauties of pre-buck is that you can get it with this metal flange right here that holds it aligned with the form. No need to line it with plywood. We've got a stud right here, so that's going to be fine. Over on this side, we are at the factory where the foam ends, so no additional bracing needed. That's going to be just fine. We've got a few sleeves through the wall there and here. No additional bracing is needed. They're just foamed in to make sure we don't get concrete leakage. Of course, that foam breaks off just fine once it's cured. Now we're looking at the back of the house, and there's a different condition here to consider, and that is a small distance from a window buck or door buck to the corner. Essentially, anytime we're 5 foot or less there, you can expect that when that concrete gets filled and vibrated, something is going to move, and it's usually the corner pushing that way. So we take the window buck and screw our plywood into the window buck and screw it into the corners as well, every single course. Anytime we have a distance of 5 feet or less from a window buck to an outside corner. Very important. This plywood is because of the fact that I've got my tie here, and this is the factory joint. We're another 2 inches beyond that. So once we get concrete in here and start vibrating, it's going to put a lot of pressure on that and tend to bend this metal out. So this plywood is holding that in place. Again, some plywood for short corners. Yeah, good times. Lots going on here. A bunch of buck braces, Burmon buck braces. We do those every single course. Since there's not much weight of concrete here, one upright was enough for this doorway, which is 9 feet wide. Heading on to the inside now. There's what another side of the transition from 6-inch to 8-inch looks like. And there we not only screwed everything together like before, but we plumbed things up first. Whenever we can, we have our bracing on the inside. In this case, we've got a concrete floor that will be covered, and so we could just tap con those feet right down. Makes straightening the wall super easy. We space them about 4'8", as much as 5'4" apart, but that's the max. Always starting with a couple in the corner, and then each side of a window or door opening, we found it's really important to have one. Get that nice and plumb, and then just evening out that spacing between them, 4'8", 5'4", something like that. Of course, you can be closer. You should not be further. Up here, you're seeing the Simpson ICF VL-6, which allows us to attach a subfloor in place. Those are screwed into the stud and laid out in such a way as to avoid any joist. Maybe I'll do a future video on how that floor system works. But after the pour, those screws are removed. Plywood on a vertical seam. Again, I like to run my vertical seams near a corner rather than in the middle of the wall, because if I need to adjust the corner, I can actually do that. Over here, we have a beam. This concrete beam is going to end up going up and up and up, and it's going to be an exterior wall. Underneath it there, you see into a portion of the house that is 1 level, and the portion that we're in is going to be 2 stories. So that beam serves as a support for that. It's got a bunch of rebar in it. And the nice thing about this giraffe bracing that we're using is you can just turn them and use them for shoring, which is what we got going on here, using pre-buck as the bottom again. So this portion is going to go up another level with a next pour. These are 12-foot tall giraffe braces. We have poured double height in one pour before, and probably will do it again, but whenever we can do it, especially without having to get another pump, it is nicest and straightest, I think, to do it in separate pours. So we'll get this pour done. Next day we're here, get the subfloor in, and set up the next level walls of the 2-story part and the next level walls on this part as well. Sometimes things can get a little congested. So you got a bunch of braces in this corner and a bunch of plywood, but you got to make it work. So we're putting our braces near the outside corner. We call these strong backs and these turnbuckles, and then sometimes I'm at a loss for word and I say the wrong ones. So forgive me if that happens. But it's a bit of a mess right there. So sometimes that's a bit of a dance. And we got another window cut in up here that I'm not going to pour in until we do the next level, but I cut it out now so that I don't end up pouring too high. Let me know what questions you have. I'd love to answer them for you. Wondering why we did anything a certain way? Feel free to give me a shout, and I look forward to talking to you guys next time.